Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome in to Morning in the Valley. It is May the 19th. Glad you are with us this morning. We are going to do a little change of pace today as kind of a little bit of a soft time as we officially put the wraps here in the next, 12 days on the 2024-25 calendar year before everybody comes back after Memorial Day and begins their summer workouts. So players off campus right now. They'll be back next week. Coaches out recruiting, of course, and trying to find a sliver of daylight. But we're going to spend some time this summer when we do have a little downtime looking back at some of the great players and great teams from the history, the Missouri Valley Conference. And that's what we're going to do today is we're going to talk with all-time Southern Illinois great Kent Williams. And we're going to look back specifically at that 2002 Southern Illinois Sweet 16 run that really kicked off just that 6 years of dominance for the Salukis. 2002, 6 straight years of going to the NCAA tournament. At-large bids worked in there, but bookended by a pair of Sweet 16 runs in 2002 and 2007. So we're going to talk with Kent about that 2002 year coming up in just a little bit. If you haven't done so already, please head over to YouTube. Subscribe to us over there, share it, like it, all that good stuff. So we can get this program out in front of as many basketball-loving friends as we can. All right, today we're going to start with some headlines here on this Monday morning, and we're going to start in Evansville, Indiana, as the Aces, as our good friend Jevin Redmond, the voice of the Purple Aces, posted over the weekend, we got our point guard, as they have gone to Germany and have gotten a commitment from a 6'7" point guard named Leif Muller from Germany. Turns 22 next month. So this is a grown man rolling in to the Ford Center. He has played in the top professional league in Germany for several years. This past season, 16 games. Didn't play a lot. Play with grown men. Playing with guys that are upper 20s, 30, played about 6 minutes a game. But he is coming to Evansville, been part of the German national team, the FIBA, the under 18, under 20, under 22 teams. So certainly one of the better young prospects coming out of that country. And now he is coming to Evansville. When we talk with Rocco Miller on Friday, and we're talking about what mid-major teams can do to try to combat this NIL world and just trying to find talent and get talent to your level. And one of the things he said was, if you've got the staffing, if you've got the resources to be able to get overseas and find talent, there is talent everywhere. And maybe more than ever, that needs to be a priority for schools. And we have seen it throughout the Valley. That international players starting to find their way into the Midwest and into the Missouri Valley, and certainly Evansville. Watched some video of him this morning, and smooth shooter, can create his own shot, big body, can get to the rim, and so that it looks to be a very solid pickup for David Ragland's bunch here. Again, we're late in the game as we're getting ready to start summer workouts, but this is looks to be a very solid addition for Coach Ragland. Speaking of international additions at Evansville, at least on the women's side, head coach Robin Short has gotten we talked about the commitment last week. It is now officially, it has been signed. Maria Mastaros from Barcelona. She has signed with the Purple Aces. She has been stateside the last couple of years. She has played 2 years down in Texas at Odessa Junior College, but originally from Spain. Started 44 of 60 games in 2 years down there at Odessa. 5 points, about 4.5 rebounds last year, but she brings some size to Evansville. 6'1" forward for the Purple Aces, and she will have 2 years of eligibility remaining. In Peoria, we have a signing. That is Micah Cooper. She is transferred in from Southern Miss, the Texas product. Started 6 of 29 games at Southern Miss last year as a freshman. Didn't play a lot, 11 minutes a game, about 2.5 points, 2 rebounds a game. But she's not afraid as a 5'11 guard, not afraid to stick her nose in there, as a, I guess when you look at sort of the advanced stats and her per 40-minute numbers, I mean, she's looking, close to a double-digit rebounder per game from a 40-minute standpoint. Didn't shoot a lot of threes last year. In fact, took 7, made 4. So she's shown that, maybe don't know that she's going to shoot 57% over the course of a season, but she has shown at least in a limited capacity to have the ability to knock down some shots from the outside. So we'll see how she is utilized up in Peoria by Kate Popovic-Goss, but another piece to the puzzle there in Bradley in guard Micah Cooper. We have some more international news today as Valparaiso incoming freshman Carter Hopoy. I'm hoping I've got his name pronounced correctly. He will represent New Zealand in the FIBA Under-19 World Cup coming up in late June. 6'10 forward, again, coming in as a freshman to Valpo. Last year played at the FIBA 18U Asia Cup and averaged 17 points, 10 rebounds, 1.5 blocks per game. So there's very good reason why head coach Roger Powell very excited to get this man to campus. Looks like he will be there briefly, but then we'll head back out as the FIBA Under-19 World Cup will be played in Switzerland June 28th to July the 6th. So that will be an opportunity for Carter to get some quality international, a little break in the summer after coming to the States for a month, presumably, working out with his Beacon teammates for that first month, and then head back over and see what he can do on a world stage. And finally this morning, another signing, and this one in Carbondale, as head coach Scott Nagy adds some more size to his roster. Max Picard, 6'10", just spent his freshman season at St. Louis, and he's just transferring down the road to Carbondale to Southern Illinois. The product of the Netherlands, 6'10", again, 7'1" wingspan. Didn't get a lot of time for Josh Schertz at SLU. Played 26 games, as a freshman. Only averaged about 1 point a game. Did not get a lot of run, especially once they got into conference play, but did show in their one non-Division I game, blocked 5 shots in a game. So certainly with that kind of size, has the potential to really be a rim protector. And we'll see how that translates. It's one thing to do it against William Woods, another thing to do it in the Missouri Valley Conference, but we will see how Max is able to translate there. It seems like we've got a little bit of a pipeline going right now for Scott Nagy at Sunrise Christian Prep School over in Kansas. Just signed Jalen Haynes, incoming freshman. Sunrise Christian, a postgraduate prep school there in Kansas. Jalen Haynes spent the 24-25 season, has signed with Southern Illinois. Max Picard spent the 23-24 season there at Sunrise Christian before going to St. Louis. And now he is in Carbondale. So those two did not cross paths necessarily there at Sunrise Christian, did Picard and Haynes, but they'll have something to talk about when they get together and get in the locker room. This was a young man, he had offers from, chose St. Louis over Penn State, over Oregon. He had some big time schools chasing him down. So again, you will bet on the size, and you will take the potential there and run to the hills with that. And that's what Scott Nagy has in 6'10" Max Picard with 3 years of eligibility remaining. All right. That gets us to our guest of honor today. And that is Kent Williams. Once upon a time, I was in my local TV world doing the sports anchor deal there. And my first job was in Augusta, Georgia. Spent 4 years there covering a lot of golf, but also covering Division II basketball. Came to Paducah, Kentucky, and was sort of put in the middle of several schools. We had Southern Illinois to the north, and we had Murray State and Tennessee Martin to the south, Southeast Missouri State over to the west. It was a lot of hoops, but at that time, when I got here I just missed the Sweet 16 run in 2002 for Southern Illinois. Fast forward 6 months, and I believe it was their home opener in the 2002-2003 season, and Murray State played at SIU. So I'm there covering it for the TV station. And after 4 years of covering Division II basketball, where a lot of times those games are, friends and family, and then I walked into the SIU arena for the first time, and I went, holy cow, this is something. And it was, and that was the night they dropped the banner for the Sweet 16. We've got flames getting fired off. That atmosphere was bananas. And that was kind of the night I fell in love with that arena and the atmosphere in there. And it grew over the next 5 years. But that was the night Kent Williams, that was the start of his senior year there at SIU. And we were talking before we started recording the other day that his senior night, you fast forward to the end of that year, Creighton came in. I believe they were playing for a conference championship, a regular season title. And, Kyle Korver, longtime NBA pro, he was phenomenal on that Creighton team. But that was just a war, and two fan bases that couldn't stand each other. And if you were not in that building in late February, early March of 2003 with SIU and Creighton, senior night in Carbondale, playing for everything, it was one of those feelings you don't forget. And what a spectacle it was. And Kent Williams was in the center of a lot of that. And to look back at what he did now, 22 years since he last wore a Saluki jersey, finished his career with 2,012 points, one of two Salukis ever to score 2,000 in a career. Charlie Vaughn being the other. Number 2 all-time and made three-pointers, behind only Shane Hawkins, who played back in the 90s. Started 130 of 130 games in his career. That is the most ever in an SIU uniform. Shot 39% from three for his career. Shot 46.5% from three as a senior. 9th all-time in assists. He was the freshman of the year in 2000. Second team All-Valley in 2001. A 2-time first-team All-Valley competitor. A Saluki Hall of Famer. And in 2019, the Missouri Valley Conference enshrined him into the Valley Hall of Fame as well. An unbelievable career. But today, we are going to talk about his impact and the impact of that program to the 2002 edition of the Southern Illinois Salukis. 28-8. Got an at-large bid to the tournament and found their way into the Sweet 16, which kicked off a decade of dominance there for the Salukis in Carbondale. So without further ado, here's my conversation from a couple of days ago with an all-time great from Southern Illinois, the pride of Mount Vernon, Illinois. Here is Ken Williams. Ken Williams, I guess before we get to the fun year in 2002, your freshman season, 2000, you win 20 games, second round of the NIT. 2001, a step back, go 16-14 that year. What was the vibe that summer going into that 2001-02 season after again, a step back and just trying to get things going again?
Right. I think the summer, looking back on it, was one of the key moments to us taking a step forward. The year before, we lost a lot of leadership from the 2020 team. We had 4 really good seniors that were our leaders for us. And then the next year, a lot of us guys going into kind of a new, probably a new leadership role. I was just a sophomore and trying to be a leader while still going through it. So we struggled that year. And then going in the summer, we changed our mindset. We all stayed all summer long. Nobody went home. So we stayed and we worked, and we had a chip on our shoulder about us that summer. The coaches challenged us, and after coming off a frustrating season, and not to forget, we had 3 really good players sitting out that year. Right. That were red shirts, and now they were coming off their red shirts. So we knew we were adding some good pieces. Just needed to just kind of get our minds right and get everything right before we stepped into that season.
One of those red shirts, Roland Roberts, who had 3 really good years at Virginia Tech and sits out, and then and then comes in an undersized big, but certainly gave you guys a different dynamic there in the middle. What you guys have, in those days, kids had to come and sit for a year before they could play. Where was your level of expectation of what he was going to be able to do going into that summer? Was it a sense of, boy, we just got a cage lion we're about to unleash on the world?
Yeah, we felt like we had a secret weapon that not too many people knew about. A couple of us went to some trips on the summer with other guys in the league, and they were like, "Oh, you got who sitting out?" And they don't know who he is. I'm like, "Hey, he's going to be pretty good." And then, because we saw him every single day in practice, and when the starting five is having a hard time beating the scout team because you've got Roland Roberts, Brad Korn, and Darren Brooks over there. And that's a pretty good scout team every single day. So, we knew that was going to help. It was going to help take a lot of pressure off me as a perimeter guy. We were going to get more inside scoring along with Jermaine Dearman in there. It's going to help open him up. And a lot of what we were working on was trying to figure out how we were going to play. I wouldn't say they were twin towers, but two big guys with Dearman and Roberts. So a little bit different type of offense, a little different type of dynamic than what we had the year before. But Roland definitely unleashed his power and explosiveness on the league. Had some big time games that year.
You mentioned the coaching staff a little earlier. Obviously, Bruce Weber still cutting his teeth as a head coach after being such a long time assistant. But that staff you guys had was just looking back at it with Rodney Watson and Chris Lowry and Matt Painter. What was it like playing for that brain trust, who obviously all individually have gone on and had great careers in their own right?
Yeah, I mean, especially looking back on it now, seeing the type of careers that everybody ended up having. Coach Weber was still just getting going, and then you see what he did at Illinois and K-State, and of course what Coach Painter's doing at Purdue. Chris Lowry took over SIU and had some really good years, took him to Sweet 16, 3 straight tournaments. And then Rodney Watson goes to Southern Indiana and does a great job there. So, I mean, you talk about a whole staff that ends up being head coaches, 3 of them at the Division I level. And those guys not having an ego about each other. And obviously it was very early, very young in their careers, but all hungry to prove themselves and to work with us and help us get to where we wanted to go. And then you kind of look back at the players that we had on the team. I mean, I'm obviously a coach. Darren Brooks is a coach. Brad Korn's a coach. Marcus Belcher's a coach. I may be leaving somebody else out in there, but I mean, you've got the guys that are coaching us and see what kind of careers they had as coaches. And then you got players that kind of had coaches' mindsets as while we were out there, and you put it all together and you can create some success like we did.
When you got into the season, got off to a good start, you play in that Las Vegas Invitational, you play the number 2 team in the country in Illinois, you lose by 3. And then a week later you come home and you beat Indiana at the arena. Which one of those games maybe affirmed to yourselves that, man, I think we can be really good? Being that close to the number 2 team in the country or beating a Big Ten team in your building?
It was no doubt the Illinois game when we lost. We proved to ourselves that we could hang with anybody in the country. We proved to ourselves that we are a good team. And then, and really feeling like we should have won that game. We were up 3 with about 3 or 4 minutes to go, and they had a couple balls bounce their way and a couple that didn't bounce ours, and ended up being a 1-possession loss. And then going into that next week when we played Indiana, we didn't look at ourselves the same. We didn't look at ourselves like this is us upsetting them. After the way we felt in the Illinois game, we went in prepared, and we were not shocked as a team. I don't think in our locker room we weren't shocked when we won. That was more just like, hey, we knew that's what we could do, and we went out and proved it. And then now we got to keep on doing that the rest of the season.
Being an Illinois kid, and obviously there's a lot of guys on that roster from all over the place, but Illinois and Southern Illinois don't play very often, and you had to go all the way out to Vegas to do it. What did that game mean to you as an Illinois kid? to get a chance to almost knock off the almighty Illini.
Yeah, there was a lot of, I guess, a lot of side stories you could say about it. I mean, obviously, growing up in Illinois, kid and playing against the Fighting Illini, I grew up watching the Salukis, grew up watching Illinois, a fan of both teams. Obviously, being a Big Ten school, I was pretty young when Flying Illini went to the Final Four, but still remember it was one of my first memories of college basketball. So playing against Illinois was a big deal. And then, some of the guys on the Illinois team, Brian Cook won Mr. Basketball, and I was runner-up to him. So playing against him, Sean Harrington was a guy I played in a summer all-star game with. And then growing up watching Frank Williams, who was the point guard on that team, win three or four straight state championships for Peoria Manual. So there was a lot of, just a lot of guys' names on there. Corey Bradford was a guy that he set a record for the most threes made in a game, and I ended up guarding him most of the game. So a lot of guys I knew, a lot of guys I, kind of watched. And then I knew I had I wouldn't say a chip on my shoulder, but when you're a mid-major guy going up against a high major program, everybody there feels like, hey, you looked over me, you passed up on me at some point. So when you play in a game like that, you kind of want to prove something. Not that you say you wanted to be on that team, but just that you wanted to prove to the world or to the team or whatever it was that, you can hang with those guys or beat them.
In that 18 to 22 demographic, was there a sense of pride for you being a Mount Vernon kid just up the road from Carbondale, basically playing for your hometown team?
No question. Growing up in Mount Vernon, where a lot of fans are Illinois fans, probably more so than SIU fans. And then, in that game, trying to not say you're trying to change everybody's mind, but just prove that, hey, we can hang with those guys. And that was kind of my goal going into my career at SIU was I'm going to the local school. I grew up watching, them go three-peat when they went to the NCAA tournament 3 years in a row by winning the tournament, MVC tournament. And I wanted to put SIU back on the map, get people excited about SIU basketball. Didn't know we were going to take it to the level we took it to, but that was obviously kind of something in the back of my mind when I went there. So now you play a team like Illinois, you do feel like you have a lot to prove.
That season, you guys you tie Creighton for the regular season championship, 14-4 in the Valley. Is it safe to say that of everybody that you got to play twice a year and sometimes 3 times a year, Creighton was the number one rivalry for, if not for the Salukis, for Kent Williams?
Oh, no question. For my 4 years, that was no question our rival. Just looking back on it, we played them. So I guess my freshman and sophomore year played them twice, and then my junior and senior played them 3 times. So you play a team like that 10 times over your career, and there's a lot of great rivalry games. There was a lot of great matchups, kind of legendary games that we had with them at times. And, and it was kind of crazy how it happened that we tied them. We went in the last game of the season. We were down a game, and we were playing Bradley at home, and they had Drake at home, which was towards the bottom of the league. And, they announced it late in the game that Creighton was losing to Drake with only a couple minutes to go. And everybody in the whole crowd, you can tell everybody's kind of starting to stir a little bit like, hey, there's a chance we could actually win the league. And then we hear that they lost, and we had about 4 minutes to go, and we stuck it in high gear and made sure we finished that off. And then, 4 minutes later, we're cutting down the nets as Coach Amps.
That is awesome. You go to Arch Madness, and Creighton picks you off in the championship game. You're sitting at 26-7, and you have to hope that was enough. What was your level of anxiety going into Selection Sunday that you had maybe not done enough?
Well, the worst thing about being in the Missouri Valley was that we played the week before the selection show. Right. So I believe back then Monday night was the championship game. Right. So we had to wait all the way till Sunday for selection show. So that's a long week to wait. And then you're starting to watch every single tournament and seeing, all right, who's a bubble team that is going to squeeze in there. We need all the top teams to win their tournaments and not have any Cinderella stories. So you're kind of watching every single conference tournament for the week, and you're over evaluating it. But at some point, you just had to go to practice, lock in, know that no matter what, our season's still going to keep going, whether it's NCAA tournament or NIT. But we felt like 26 wins was enough. Obviously, beating Indiana, we won the most road games in the nation that year. We went to George Mason, we went to Colorado State, we went to Cal State Northridge. I mean, we were all over the place. I think we're at Murray State. We played a little bit everywhere. So kind of going in, not just 26 wins, but all the road wins we had, kind of hoping that was going to be enough. And then when we saw our name come across the board, we were excited, but it was also a little bit of a sigh of relief. And now it's like, hey, let's get back to work for real now. And here we go.
First at-large bid in the history of the program. Any memories of that day, of the minutes, hours, and you guys are all together as a team, I'm sure, and nervously eating nachos, just waiting to see the Salukis pop up on the board?
Yeah, it was. I don't remember much of the whole day, but I do remember sitting there watching the show. We had food and things, but nobody was really, wanting to eat because they're a little nervous about it. But yeah, just seeing our name pop up was, it's a dream come true for anybody that plays college basketball. And, I was 2 years into it already. So this is year 3. You got a goal of wanting to be in the NCAA tournament, what we grew up watching as kids, and then to see our name come across, knowing that we're going to play. And then I just remember it was fast moving because the coaches just left right away. They go right to the office and they're finding film on Texas Tech and Georgia and Murray State and trying to figure out, all right, let's get all the film we can get on these guys. And then there was no long celebration. It was, all right, now let's get our scouting report ready, get to practice, and let's figure out how we're going to win.
A lot of coaches look at the tournament. It's easy, 64, 68, whatever, but really it's a series of 4-team tournaments and your 4-team tournament to get to the Sweet 16, again, Texas Tech, Georgia, and Murray State. Did you allow yourself to dream big at that point, or, hey, this is the first time we're going and we're just solely worried about, we got to figure out a way to beat the Red Raiders?
Yeah. We did that a lot during my career there, where a coach would look at little segments of it. Don't look at the big picture. We even broke down our season into little brackets, to make sure that we weren't looking past any games. So that kind of was already our mindset going into this. Hey, it's a 4-game tournament. We're not in the whole thing. We're just going to go try to win this little 4-game segment or 4-team segment right here. And we felt confident about playing Texas Tech. Once we watched a little film on them, and you never know how things are going to work out in the NCAA tournament, but Bruce Weber had spent 18 years as assistant coach at Purdue, and now he's playing against Bob Knight, who's at Texas Tech. So he knows their offense really well. He's done their scouting reports. So, jumping right into it, he had a good idea of the offense they run, the defense they run, and it kind of gave us a little bit of maybe an advantage on that side of it.
What did Chicago mean to you when you saw the location?
Well, it didn't mean a ton to me at the moment until we got up there and playing and realized how many SIU fans actually were in the building at the United Center. And clearly, growing up being a Michael Jordan fan, like most kids are, knowing you're getting ready to go play in the same place that the Bulls play. So you kind of think of that at first. That's where a kid's mindset is more so than maybe a coach's mindset or adult. But yeah, then if you also think about what happened was Illinois was there, Creighton was there. So we had a fan base that was, I wouldn't say our fan base, but 2 teams that we played against throughout the season. So they had some interest in sticking around watching the games. So, it was a sold out arena. It was packed. And then, as in this NCAA tournament, when a Cinderella story starts to even sniff at winning, having an upset, everybody starts rooting for that team, and everybody jumped on the bandwagon during that game and started rooting for us, and it kind of carried on to the next game as well.
Any behind the scenes stories for you? Anything memorable of your personal, like off the court, just NCAA tournament experience, that maybe something that, hey, it's our first rodeo and I didn't know this was going to happen, but that was kind of neat?
It's funny because there are two things. Well, one thing did happen, but another thing is when you're in the NCAA tournament and you're just treating it like another game. I mean, you do your scouting report, you eat your pregame meal, you go do your warm-ups, and you jump out there and you're ready to play. So you kind of treat your routine like anything else, compared to when you're a fan and you see everything on TV and you see the build-up. It's a little bit more. But one thing that did happen is more behind the scenes is, being a Southern Illinois guy, and I had a lot of connections with Indiana growing up with some of my coaches that I had, and Indiana recruited me a little bit when Coach Knight was there. So then when Coach Knight ends up at Texas Tech and we're going against him, we win the game. I was actually, back then, what we're talking 2002, I was doing an interview with a radio show after the game in the hallway of the United Center on a payphone. So I'm sitting on a payphone talking, and then Coach Knight, actually just somebody came up, hit me on the back real hard, and I turned around, and it was Coach Knight. And I think I dropped the phone right in the middle of the interview, and he congratulated me on the game and told me, "Hey, a kid like you could have played for me any day," which meant a lot because I knew they recruited me a little bit, but never, once again, one of those moments where you got passed up on. So yeah, that happened behind the scenes, and then I quickly jumped back on the radio show, and they were asking me what was going on. I said, "Well, sorry about that. That was Coach Knight that just came up to me." So, and they're like, "Yeah, we heard the whole thing on the radio. That was good radio for us."
That's one of those stories that I have heard sort of anecdotally over the decades, and you're never really sure how much it just was legend or myth or if it actually happened. So that's pretty awesome that it did. Jermaine Dearman had an awesome weekend, and I feel like from that era, that 2000 to 2008 window where SIU was just at such a peak, and so many great players through that time. He got a lot of recognition, but I feel like it's in a weird way a couple of decades later that he might have slipped through the cracks a little bit and maybe underrated in the impact that he really had on that Saluki program. What can you say about Jermaine and just the impact that he had on that program?
Yeah, I mean, Jermaine and I played every single game together for a 4-year career. And, we came in as freshmen together, sitting in the dorm rooms talking about the goals that we had. And then, I mean, I don't know the numbers. I know when we finished, we were the top two, like as a duo in a career, we were the top 2 scorers as a dynamic duo. So I'm pretty sure we're at the top of that. And the way the portal is these days, I'm not sure anybody's going to catch that one. So, because I think we scored 3,500 points together, and obviously had a lot of wins together. Jermaine was a very talented player. 6'8", could step out and make moves off the dribble like a guard, and he was a mismatch. Posted up a little bit, but it was more of a face-up guy. And I thought in the NCAA tournament, where a lot of focus was on me, a lot of focus was on Roland, that Jermaine was ever able to expose them and get the matchups where a bigger guy came out and tried to guard him on the perimeter, and he was able to go right by him. And man, he had a great weekend, but also, he had everybody talks about that weekend, but he had a great 4 years when you talk about the numbers he put up, and, just a fun guy to play with. And man, when it was big game, we called him Big Game Jermaine because the bigger the game was, the more he came to show up. And, I just teased him all the time saying, boy, it'd be nice if you did that when we're in the middle of a cornfield in front of about 2,000 people. And he would laugh at it a little bit. But I mean, I'd rather have a guy that was going to make sure he stepped up for the big games like he did.
Well, against Texas Tech, 76-68, you guys got the win. You had 17. He had 17 and 11. It was, I don't know that any NCAA tournament game is ever stress-free, but the final minutes for an upset, you guys were able to kind of just dribble it out and get the win. What's your lasting memory aside from a slap on the back from Bob Knight in beating Texas Tech?
Yeah, well, like you said, we kind of got ourselves where we were in control of the game. They were, I wouldn't say they were way out of striking distance, but we just kind of pulled away and did what we needed to do. We knocked down our free throws late in the game when it came to fouling and got the stops we needed to get. And
which you guys were not good at all that season.
What's finishing off games or free throws or
just free throws? You were
yeah. Well, that was sometimes where we had to get rolling out of the game on different things. He wasn't a great free throw shooter, so we had different lineups. Kind of did some offense and defensive subbing, but we had guys like Brad Korn who can step in and knock down big free throws, and I'm pretty sure he did in that game. But yeah, I mean, we we could mix and match different lineups based on, getting the ball in against a press, getting fouled. But yeah, I just remember just finishing them off, kind of a mini celebration, but nothing, when you're kind of winning the whole game, you feel like you should win it. And it's not over. All right, we won that game. We went to the locker room and, mini celebration, whatever, but we knew we were ready for the next challenge. And then we had to stick around and watch, Georgia and Murray State play and figure out who the next game was going to be.
And if memory serves, Murray State got off to a very fast start and had a big lead on Georgia early. And then before that ultimately whittled away. I'm sure as the 11 and you're sitting there watching a 14 take it to a 3 there for a little bit, you're like, and we've already played them once and we've beaten them once. This isn't going to hurt our feelings at all. But as it got away, what was the general feeling about getting ready to face the Bulldogs?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's even video of it out there where Coach Weber was asking us who we wanted, and we all said Georgia because he's like, okay, you guys want the best. And it's like, yeah, if we're going to keep moving forward in the tournament, let's keep knocking off, the best team we can face. And, it didn't really care who it was going to be. But then again, that's kind of where you're back to the routine. You go back to the hotel. You got a day off in between. So we had a day off to prepare for Georgia and, start working on the scouting report, working on how we're going to stop them. What we're going to do offensively, and just kind of right back into your routine that we've been doing all season long.
77-75. You didn't have much drama against Texas Tech. We got drama at the end with Georgia where it got a little just tight late. Jermaine Dearman missing a jumper in the final 30 seconds. Chases kind of steals an offensive rebound away from you as I was watching the video this morning to keep the possession alive, and then some intentional foul stuff that Georgia didn't like, but you guys able to hit the free throws down the end. Just what's the, it's one thing to win one game. It's a whole other thing that you're knocking on the door to the Sweet 16 and it's a back and forth thing. What are those final 5 minutes like just from a player standpoint in a building that is now officially 98% pro SIU? I mean, the roars for you guys, it was just, the hair stands up on your arms watching it again.
Yeah, well, even before we got to that point, we were down 18 or 19 in the first half. They came out on fire. We were dead. We didn't have anything going, and Coach Weber kind of at the timeouts was just like, "Hey, you guys got to come out and fight. Let's first of all, let's not get embarrassed here." It wasn't even about winning; it was about not getting embarrassed. And then he said, each 5-minute war, or 4-minute war that you have for a media timeout, we got to chip into the lead. We need to get 2 or 3 here. The next media timeout, we need to go get 2 or 3 more. Don't try to get all back at once. Just keep chipping away. And then by halftime, we cut that 19-point deficit down to, I think we were down 2 or 3. And I think it might have been 34-31. And we were running the locker room down 3, felt like we were going to win the game. They were distraught that they lost a big lead like that. And now we're back in it. And we were excited. And then we came out second half and just played with, the energy that we finished the first half in. It was kind of back and forth there for a while. Then we picked up the lead. I know, one of my favorite moments that I had in my college career was we were up 2 and about 2 minutes to go. Shot clock was winding down, and I hit a 3 to put us up 5. And I thought that was one of the biggest shots I had in my career. And like you said, the whole crowd was on our side. And I just remember the whole United Center just standing up with their arms after I made the shot. And then it's kind of one of those moments like it's not over yet, but we're going to win this game somehow. We kind of felt good about it. And then, like you said, at the end, it was just about knocking down free throws, finishing, getting defensive stops when you had to get them. We talked about Roland not making free throws real well, and they went after him. And I think he even ran off to the side by the bench, and they chased him over there, and then they got an intentional foul for fouling him away from the ball. And then it kind of sealed the deal that we had those free throws and got the ball back and then finished it off.
He made 1 or 2 after that intentional foul. Watching the bench, it was just like you all won the lottery because you didn't expect. I think he was 41% or something for the season. So that was huge. When you see the final seconds and you're living those final seconds and the dribble off and that's it. What is that moment? I've always loved watching Coach Weber and Coach Lowry not wanting to let go on that hug. What's that moment like as a player for you to kick in that door?
Yeah, I mean, we were just, a lot of joy, a lot of excitement, and we're just jumping around. You first of all, it's about winning that game, finishing off the job and you win and you're excited to celebrate that. And then as you are kind of walking off the floor, you realize what you've really done. And we're moving on to the next weekend. We're going to the Sweet 16. And, you don't let yourself get too lost in it during the game. But then after the game, it just kind of hits you. And then again, those are your brothers. Those are the guys you've been going to war with, been fighting with. Like we talked about to start this whole conversation, go back to the summer where we started the process, that's where it really got going. So it wasn't like it just happened all of a sudden. This has been a long process, a long build up getting to this point. So got to the locker room, all jumping up and down, celebrating, having fun. And then just trying to figure out, all right, now what do we do now? Now we're off to, and then that next week turned out to be maybe one of the most hectic, crazy weeks I had in sports that I've never experienced even after that. And with just so much people in Southern Illinois being excited for us, we got back from, Chicago, the whole airport's full of people, just packed of people. We had media there all week, interview, press conferences, all kinds of stuff that, we weren't really used to in Carbondale.
What kind of celebrator was Bruce Weber? Was he a stand back and watch you guys, or was he all in the middle of it?
Kind of combination of both. I mean, he's always pretty reserved, but we were all in there first, and then when he comes running in, we're all jumping up and down, and kind of get him in the middle, and we're all just kind of he's in the middle of a mosh pit or something like that. But no, I mean, we all celebrate and then we go back, sit down and let him talk. And, but we were all so excited for each other, for our coaching staff, for Coach Weber, for each other. And then, quickly it's like, hey, now let's move on to the next task, because that's kind of what it is. You just can't get totally lost in it. You got to get ready and figure out, all right, where are we even playing at? Like, we weren't even looking past Chicago. So where's the next round at? Where are we flying to? And what do we got to do?
Very cold Syracuse on the board to go play UConn. We hear all the time about sight lines and shooting lines and all that. What is it like trying to shoot a basketball in the Carrier Dome?
It's tough.
Yeah.
And it's even tougher when you've got Ben Gordon and, Karan Butler guarding you too. So
Right.
Those guys aren't easy to get away from. But, yeah, definitely playing in a dome like that. That's the only thing that I would say was a little disappointing. It was cool that we were playing in front of, I don't know, 40,000 people were probably in that dome, 30,000, however many seats. But they were so far away from you, it really never got real loud. Compared to what we just played in the United Center, where it's an arena, it holds the volume, holds the noise, and then playing in the Carrier Dome, trying to shoot in that, it felt like everybody was so far away from us. UConn probably did have a little bit of advantage. They do play there during the regular season when they were in the Big East together back then, but still just it's like a dream a little bit. Going back thinking about it and playing in that. You always dream to play in a big game, and we were in that moment. And but yeah, like I said, it was not the easiest place to shoot in. I think I was thinking at one point we were 1 for 17 or 1 for 18 from three. I haven't looked at a box score in a long time. I've had plenty of other games since then playing and coaching, but I know we did not shoot the ball real well that night. But the big guys, Roland and Jermaine, got us off to a great start and kept us in the game. Yeah,
UConn, again, they had some dudes, as you said, Ben Gordon, Karan Butler, Emeka Okafor, names that people know, and they weren't going to make life easy. Just in terms of preparing, and as you said, it's a hectic week. You're in the Sweet 16 now. You everybody, and you're this. What's a Saluki and all this stuff that everybody wants to fixate on? Now your national story, the basketball preparation of it, where you guys were confident in Chicago. This is another animal that you're getting ready to face in UConn. And where was there a happy to be there, or did you guys still have that confidence that, man, we can come in here and we can still win a couple games?
No, we definitely went in with the mindset we were going to win. I don't think as a competitor and the type of guys that we had and the coaching staff we had, anybody would have been just content with going and playing. I mean, I really don't think anybody goes into a game like that, no matter what level you're at, no matter how big of a underdog you are. You got to go in with the mindset that you're going to go win. And we did. We prepared as much as we could, but, you can't put a 7-footer in your practice like Emeka Okafor and a 6'8" guard like Karan Butler is, and, Ben Gordon as fast, which I don't even think people knew who Ben Gordon really was much back then. But I remember coming home telling people, I was like, oh, this is a guy that's pretty good, man. He crossed me over so fast I didn't know where he went one time. And but we hung with him as much as we could, especially for as bad as we shot the ball that night. And they had a lot to do with us not shooting it well. But yeah, the whole week, I mean, you go to class, everybody's talking about it. Your professors are talking about it. The kids in your class are talking about it. Everybody around campus is talking about it. Then you go to practice, and that's kind of your comfort zone to get away from it all and lock in. And then as soon as practice was over, here's a press conference, here's a TV show, a radio show, something else that we had to go do. That I since then I've worked at Purdue and Tennessee and some big places where some of that stuff's a little bit more the norm, especially if you're in a bigger city. But for us, going through every day where nobody's really talking to us besides maybe the Daily Egyptian or the Southern Illinoisan a few times.
Right.
Now all of a sudden we've got, national media. Coach Weber and I were on the Best Damn Sports Show, and there was just a lot going on, and it was nonstop. Parents calling you about tickets, and families, everything that you're trying to figure out for the travel. There's just a lot that goes into it that's even behind the scenes that you don't get a chance to just kind of shut it off and relax.
I know it was a frustrating game for you, foul trouble early and never really got going offensively. You guys lose 71-59 after, it's just nothing short. It's the magical run every mid-major hopes for. You obviously want to keep playing for a couple more weekends, but when it's over and just the walk off, what's the general sense of disappointment? Does disappointment override the pride, or like where's that balance at that point?
Well, it's a combination of you're disappointed that you lost. You're disappointed that the run is over. And I was disappointed that I didn't perform the way I was capable of performing. And then the next thing is you're just it's the seniors that are on the team. It's their last game. You're giving Marcus Belcher a hug for the last time as a teammate, and Roland Roberts and Tyrese Bowie and the other seniors. Those guys, when it's their last game, that actually probably takes a little bit more of the hit more than anything. That the season's over, we lost, and then you look around the room and those guys aren't your teammates anymore when you walk out of that room. So, the closeness and the bonds that you build with these guys. I talked to Marcus Belcher last week. He just recruited one of my high school players, and I helped him get him. So it's like the relationships that will never go away, stay there, and that's what you kind of remember at that moment.
Well, my last question for you, that 2002 season, the start of this phenomenal 6-year run in Carbondale, bookended by a pair of Sweet 16 runs. How does that 2002 team, what do you think the legacy is for it? First at-large bid in school history, most wins in school history with 28, finished the year ranked 22nd, first time in 25 years you guys have been ranked. What's the legacy, and how do you want people to remember that 2002 Saluki team?
Well, I think the first thing I think about is that was the first group that really did it right. When you talk about when we went 6 years in a row to the NCAA tournament, I know, and there was another Sweet 16 run in there, 6 years later after us. But the first group to kind of pull it off and put SIU on the map and take it to a level that's never been before and really hasn't gone back to, I think that's just, that's what I think of that team, looking back and that. Look at the coaches, like I said, look at the coaching staff, look at the players and where some of us finished on the all-time list and records. Darren Brooks is on that team, who ends up being, 2-time player of the year. And you put together all of our numbers for what we did for our career, and we were all on one team, all at different times in our career a little bit. Yep. But we were able to put all that aside to win and put up wins. And that's, there's players that have come through and put up good stats, but when you have players that come through and put up good stats and put up wins and banners and championships and things that we did. I think it's a pretty special group. And again, like I said, to be kind of that first group to lay the foundation of what the next 5 years was going to be, I think is pretty special, because I think that's a legacy. When you leave somewhere and it falls apart, you didn't build it very strong. But when you leave somewhere and it keeps going, and maybe even goes to another level. I think they won 29 wins in 2008 maybe. So, but that was a part of the building process, and the next player coming in and
Well, there was Kent Williams, and sorry, we got the last 10 seconds of his last answer cut off there. Just about being able to build it and sustaining it,
being the leader for the next group, and just keeping on going.
As I said, that was my first introduction to SIU basketball, and just a remarkable run. And I was I felt lucky to be able to watch that from my media seat there for those 6 years, and so much that was accomplished and ultimately expected. After a while, when you start stacking, to go to the NCAA, not only go to the tournament, but to get at large bids and to win games and to get to the Sweet 16, it was that was the expectation there, and it was well earned. One of my, again, sort of just the core memories now, more than 20 years later, and Kent's last college game at the Dome in Indianapolis, when SIU got in and played Missouri in the opening round of the tournament at the Dome in Indy. And I'll just never forget the two memories that stick with me most are Jermaine Dearman taking a charge, and that was called a block, in the final minute, final seconds really of a play that Missouri was down and drives the basket, trying to make something happen, and Jermaine slides over, and Bruce Weber was just out of his mind, and for good reason. I mean, it just felt like it was kind of taken away, and then just running a play, down to a final second or two, and running one last play to get one last shot for Kent Williams, and sort of a tough, 3-pointer across his body, and man, he gave it a shot, and it almost went down, but did not, and rims out, and that was the end. And I'll just the disappointment from Kent of just like, man, just the camera zoomed in on him. I was like, man. And then to see, Bruce Weber in the background holding the dry erase board, and he just frisbeed it at the bench. And the frisbee always just made me laugh. But I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Kent. We'll have more conversations about some great players, great teams from the history of this great league as we roll through the summer. But that does it for this morning's edition of Morning in the Valley. Glad you were with us. As always, we will see you again on Wednesday morning, 9 a.m. If you haven't done so already, please head on over to YouTube, search out Morning in the Valley, and subscribe to the page there. Share it, like it, all that good stuff. I would greatly appreciate that as we continue to grow this program. So enjoy the rest of your Monday, everybody, and we'll see you on Wednesday. Thanks for watching Morning in the Valley.